Hello friends. So on countless requests from so many students, because I always feel like helping you, and I somehow felt that there is a lot of confusion that what will be the pattern of the next exam, because very soon our exam pattern is going to change from NEET to next. So I think this is but obvious that there is lot of apprehension, lot of queries, lot of questions in the mind that what should be our strategy now. So for making a good strategy, a good plan, you should know what is the actual change that is going to take place. So what do we know as of now? See, this next exam will be held in two sessions, which is next one and next two. And as proposed as of now, the first next exam will take place in the March 2022. So this means the batch which is currently, that is 2017, is going to write it for the first time. Now again, what will happen with the batch that is 2016 is not very clear, but 2017 is going to appear in the next exam, that is for sure. Okay, now the important thing is we have to understand that what will be the nature of this exam, how it will be different from the NEET exam, and what are the important parts, and that means how many questions will be asked, what will be the major bulk. So you have to consider this, that there will be total of 540 MCQs and there will be 6 papers. So I think this is going to be a huge change, because up till now the paper used to take place on a single day, and now you have to appear for the paper for the 3 days, and they have not made it clear that will it be consecutive 3 days or will there be a gap between these, because giving paper for so many days itself I think will be more hectic, and by the time you are reaching to the third day paper you'll be already exhausted. So even if there is a gap between these papers, we cannot expect too much of work in those days. Ample amount of rest will also be required in that period, so that you are actually fresh and best of your mind and soul are present in the examination hall. Because this is a common mistake that we perform during our exams, that we do too much of hard work during the days of exam. See, you have to do the hard work since the beginning of your MBBS. You are doing, we always say that the earlier you start, better it is, but taking ample amount of rest during the days of examination, especially you should be very fresh with your heart, body and soul on the day of exam, so that you can actually apply all those knowledge that you have grasped so many years. So you should not be very tireful and exhausted on the day of exam. So this is going to be a huge challenge, that this examination is going to run for 3 days and with a lot number of questions. The number of questions that will come in this paper is the 540. So you know that presently we have a NEET paper which contains 300 questions and we have 3.5 hours to do it. So as against this is going to be a huge change, 540 questions in 3 days, and that too is divided. Each day you will be having 2 papers, so that means 2 sessions, one pre-lunch session and one is your post-lunch session. In the pre-lunch session, first day you will have medicine and allied subjects, second day surgery and allied subjects, and third day gynae and obs. While in the post day, first day you will have pediatrics, second day you will have ENT, and third day you will have ophthalmology. So that one thing is very, very clear, that these people want to ask in details all of these subjects and just not testing of superficial knowledge. They want that the doctors which are coming out actually be mature, be responsible, be thorough with their concepts, so that we are not apprehensive giving the lives of the patients of this nation in their hands, right? Now, look at the question pattern. Question pattern is problem solving questions 60%, comprehension and analysis 30%, and recall just 10%. Then 10% questions from basic sciences and 10% questions from the public health. Now again, if you see, there is lot of difference from the NEET pattern. Previously, a good amount of questions were one-liner kind of questions, the recall based questions, the stat pattern question. But now the major chunk, 60 plus 30, 90% of the questions are going to be problem based comprehension analysis. They will give you a problem similar to that you face in the OPD. As if you are sitting in the OPD and a patient has come with these complaints, they'll already give you the required investigations that you would like to order or advise that patient, and on that behalf, you have to make the clinical diagnosis. I think this is a very good step, because you know, giving the treatment to a patient whose diagnosis is clear is not that challenging. What is the most challenging work in the life of a doctor? Making the diagnosis, the clinical acumen. The doctor or a practitioner is how much successful depends upon the amount of clinical skill, the clinical acumen he has. And giving this kind of paper will definitely help them in coming out with the best clinical approach. Now, when you already know that the questions will be your problem solving, comprehension and analysis, your basic approach towards reading that subject, reading the topic while you are doing your Q banks or you are revising anything will be problem solving. Now, you don't expect they'll ask that this sign is found in. They will tell you the patient is coming, he's giving you this sign, this symptom, then we order this investigation, we advise this investigation rather, and you got these signs. So now your mind starts thinking in a more rationalized way instead of just rote learning that you have to just cram up cover to cover. You are rationalizing more. So I think they are going towards more of a Emily kind of pattern, what they were following from so many years. We are also heading towards that. But don't think that you have to practice the Emily Q banks now. See, their pattern of diseases, their environment, their genetics, or everything is very, very changed. We can grasp the approach, we can simulate the questions, but doing those questions as it is won't be very, very high yield. Then 10% questions from the basic sciences. 10% questions from the basic sciences. Now this basic sciences means it will involve your anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, then pathology, pharma, micro, as well as the forensic medicine. So this means these 7 subjects will be asked, okay, in the 10%, that accounts to roughly 54 questions will be asked from this, and 10% questions will be asked from the community medicine, that is your PSM. So that means the concept of learning has to be such that you are actually integrating your clinical knowledge, your clinical subjects along with these basic sciences. Okay, so now instead of asking that these type of cells are seen, okay, in which disease, they will ask you that you are seeing a patient, he has such and such finding, it was sent for the biopsy, these kind of cells were seen, and what is the diagnosis. So now the clinical form of anatomy, more of clinical form of physiology, more of clinical form of biochemistry, clinical pathology, all these will be asked in a more clinically oriented way. All right. Now, what is the next thing? Next important thing is that only those of the candidates who will pass the next one exam, who are passing the next one exam, only will be allowed to take the internship. That means the moment you are starting with the internship, you must be having a seat picked up already, or you have decided that you will not pick up a seat in PG. So that means they want that when you enter your internship, you are actually free of the stress running like anything for learning, because you have to appear for your PG ME exam, because you know, when we go for the internship, in today's scenario, you have lot of stress, and instead of giving attention to the little procedures which are going on, instead of learning something clinical from there, we are actually searching for a corner where we can sit and actually can read something, can revise the previous day notes, or doing some MCQs from the Q bank in our phones, something like that. So the basic essence of that internship is lost. So I think again this is for your betterment, for the society's betterment. Now when you have already picked up one seat, you are sure, you are complacent, you are stress free, then you can actually enjoy that 12 months of internship, learning something great. Like think that you have completed the internship and you don't know even how to plaster a simple fracture, you don't know how to put a intricate, you don't know how to do sampling or Foley's, and on the other hand, you have already picked up the seat, you are going to the internship and you are learning with these things. So the amount of confidence that you will have in the end of your posting will be unmatchable. And what to say of the relatives? Yeah, you know, when you complete the MBBS, or rather it is on the day of entering of the MBBS only, they start expecting that you are able to judge their problems, diagnose their problems, prescribe them something. So at least towards the end you are doing so. Yeah. Now, second important thing, the next will be held once a year. Now, till now they are saying that there will be no supplementary exams. So, if you are failing in the next one, I think this is a major point. If you are failing in the next one exam, then you will have to wait for 1 year. One total year you have to wait, and then you have to appear again. So you have to appear for next one, then you have to go for the internship, and at the end of the internship there will be a next 2 exam. Now this will be just a pass and fail exam, and it will be a practical kind of exam checking your clinical skills that you must have learned during your internship. So this is the whole pattern which they have suggested, right? Now let's analyze what are the major differences between the NEET and the next. In the NEET, we were having just the 1 day exam, while in the next we are having 3 days exam. In the NEET, we were having the 300 questions. In the next, we have 540 questions. So that means in the NEET, you were having about 85 questions per hour, and that comes to about 42 seconds for one question, while in the next they are giving you just 40 questions per hour. But don't be very happy from this. They have reduced to about half okay, questions per hour, because the length of the questions, the time it will take you to read the question, to understand it, then to comprehend it, and decide what is the right answer, what will be the right approach, will be much more. Because you know, when it's a clinical question, already it's a very long question, and as I always say, in such kind of questions, you have to first read the last line of this question. If image is given along with it, try to see the image also first, and then you have to go through the remaining question. The reason is, if you read the last line of this question, or you are seeing the image, already your mind gets a clue what they are going to ask. So now with that clue, if you are reading whole of the question, you know what you have to actually bookmark in your mind, that they had asked what type of cataract it is. So you have already seen the image, so you got a clue. Suppose they have shown you the Christmas tree cataract, so now you have a clue that Christmas tree cataract is found in the dystrophica myotonica. So when you read the question, you have in mind, yes, maybe these are the features of dystrophica myotonica, and if they are there, your diagnosis is becoming more and more strong, and ultimately you are comprehending, correlating both the things, and you are sure that this is the answer, right? Because you know, in such kind of a questions, you don't have much time to come again. You may come for some of the questions, but you will not have the time to go back for all the questions. So that is there. Then if you see the more of one-liners, in the NEET pattern there was more of the one-liner kind of a questions, while in the next we have got just 10%, one-liners. We have problem solving, comprehension, as well as analytic. Now in the NEET we were having 3 sections, 3 parts, that is the section A, section B and section C. A 50 marks, B 100 marks and C 150 marks. So total makes 300 questions. Again, now 50 and 100 questions, these were your non-clinical, while the 150 questions are clinical. So even though this remains same, clinical subjects have more weightage than the pre-para or non-clinical subjects, and the degree of integration was not that much. But now they are going to integrate every single question, and that is why what I am giving you nowadays, the questions, all the practice questions are the integrated questions. Either they are integrated with the anatomy of the eye or physiology of the eye or metabolic activity or the pathology, medicine. So you know, we have a kind of integrating thing, so that if you are reading anything about a disease, maybe suppose sarcoidosis, then you are not learning just the clinical features of sarcoidosis, or just the ocular features of sarcoidosis, or just the pathology of sarcoidosis. Not like this, you are learning the sarcoidosis as a whole. So that is why when I discuss the ocular features of sarcoidosis, I do discuss what is actually sarcoidosis, how it is granulomatous, what is the pathology, hilar lymphadenopathy, what is enzyme levels increase, ACE levels, you will get the findings on chest x-ray, HRCT. So your mind should know that yes, this is sarcoidosis. It's not like that we are blocked the other things, and when you are learning the eye, you are just concentrating on the ocular features. Okay, yes, we do have a preference at that time that we are concentrating, like more focused, but you should be able to integrate it. If I am saying that sarcoidosis has a granulomatous uveitis, then I should be able to comprehend that because sarcoidosis is a granulomatous disease, that's why it contains a granulomatous uveitis, that's why it will show the mutton fat capes, that is why it will show the iris nodules, right? So this is just like a story, a movie that is going on, and you will realize that if you you start learning in this way, slowly and gradually you will start enjoying it. It will, like, medicine will become a fun for you. We actually don't enjoy reading when we are just learning them in parts, and together they are not making anything. But if you are learning in such a way that, you know, do you remember we used to make puzzles where the whole of the puzzle was divided into parts, and that showed a one great character or any story when you have to combine them. So it's similarly, the 19 subjects are just like the part of that story. So if you are learning that in such a way that when they combine, they make a total one big story, you will start enjoying it. Now here we will have the 6 parts. As I told you, 3 parts pre-lunch, 6 and 3 parts post-lunch. Now, the present day NEET is not having any link with the practical knowledge, and I think this is a big lacuna. You may be rank 1 and you may not be having the sound knowledge or concepts of the practical things taking place. So here we have made a practical assessment that is very, very important, and until and unless one is clearing the next 2, he won't be able to start his PG. Okay. Now, if you look at the NEET 2020, even the NEET 2020 was the government's first step towards the next, and they have already showed you the trailer and picture abhi baki hai mere dost. Yeah, so those people, those candidates, those students, they were actually on the path of getting the concepts and fundamentals, did well on this unexpected paper that we got in NEET 2020. There were a lot of clinical questions, and you know, there was a major problem. The time ran short because, you know, we were not prepared for that kind of a paper, and it took them long to read the question paper, comprehend it, but still, you know, cutoff went high. So this is the beauty. When you go to the concepts, and if your concepts are clear, then you are performing extraordinarily well, because that is not based on rote learning, right? And you know, NEET usually have a ratio of about 50% of one-liners, and this time, you know, they were reduced to just 20%, and we were having so many clinical questions, image-based questions, and you know, they had shown that how will be your future paper like. So we are expecting even more of the clinical questions, more image-based questions, more integrated questions in your next exam. Now, there are so many excuses, and I will not say that they are just the bare excuses. It is actually a reality also. When we are preparing now, okay, those of you are presently doing the internship, they are in a dwindle what to do. Now, though it's clear that NEET, there's going to be NEET in 2021, but those who have started late, or those who have not yet started, they have a dilemma whether or not they will be able to do it in 2021 NEET, or will they become eligible for the next exam next year, that is 2022. I know this, you know, whenever there is a phase of transition, that time is always difficult. But one thing is sure, that whatever is there, that will be for everyone. Okay, so situation is not greener for some and harder for some, it is same for all, right? So it is your testing of your patience, hard work and perseverance. So those of you will be able to pass off this phase, will certainly do better and best in your exam, right? So whatever medium is available, whatever sources are available, whatever time is available, I know it's a tough time. You people are doing your COVID duties, running a lot of stress, you know, that is actually unavoidable. Everybody, if I'll say I'm not having stress, I may lie. Okay, everybody is facing through the stress. Even a 2-year child is facing a stress. I think they are even in more stress. They don't know. They don't have the slightest of idea what's going on, what is a pandemic, what is a crisis, and why he is not allowed to go out to play with his friends, and why suddenly parks have become empty and he cannot go to the fun zones, he cannot go out to play. At least you people know what's going on. You people know that what are the best things for you, how you can manage. And even during these crisis periods, you people are lucky enough to get the live classes. So I think instead of crying over what has been done and what is worse in the current situation, it's always better to take out the best from the available resources. And if you remember, a few days back I had shared a quote, that no matter how many resources you have, they all will be insufficient if you do not know how to use them. So take the best use of your resources, take the best use of your time. Okay, don't wait for the opportunity, create one. So a person who is a positive minded person, a person having a positive attitude, will think rather that maybe this is a bonus time I am getting for all those subjects where I was having a backlog and I was not having a time to read this. Maybe when I was in first year, I was not that thorough with the anatomy or physiology or maybe biochem. Maybe when I was in second year, I could not get those concepts of pharma that should be there. So you see, this is a bonus time. You can get clear all these backlogs and come on your trajectory out. Yes. So try to take maximum time. Okay, see whether you are actually learning or you are just sitting in front of the books and wasting time. You don't have time to waste, and you will realize this afterwards, and then it will be too late. So you have to work before it gets too late, and we are there for helping you out. So I will say that no medium is bad or it is insufficient. It's your future. You know what is best. Learn the concepts and you can beat any exam. If you are clear with the concepts, if you know why of that condition, why did it happen, okay, then you are able to tell that what should be done. Okay, so try to be inquisitive, in the classes, be interactive. Try, come back, learn the subject same day, try to correlate it. Suppose you have learned anything today in the surgery, or you have learned today anything about in the ophthalmology, you have learned anything in medicine, try to go back, try to read this. Suppose you are finding out that the associated pharma or associated pathology of this, so suppose I taught you the cavernous sinus thrombosis and you thought that your anatomy of the cavernous sinus is not that clear, so you are not getting the concepts. Okay, even though I tell always the anatomy in short, then go back to it, try to read it, so that you are not having the backlogs. Try to finish it on the same time. Okay, and if you feel like that there is something more to it, you want to add something, add it one, because in the last, reading from a single source is the best advice. You, in the starting, you may be taking the information from multiple sources. Maybe you want to add something from the Q bank, you want to add something from the GT question that you got through, or you from any the textbook, because you know learning from the textbook is also very very important, and that is irreplaceable, and that is one thing that you won't be able to do in future. If you think that while you are doing the internship or while you are in final year you will try to read the theory books of first year, second year or third year, that won't be possible. So in whatever prof you are, try to read the standard textbooks, and they are giving you beautiful concepts. I'm not saying that you will be able to beat the exam from the theory books. For that you may require your handwritten notes, but the concepts that you develop while reading those theory books and applying your knowledge in their wards, attend your clinical postings, go there. I know you are not being able to go there nowadays, and that is why we have been giving you practical courses, practical sessions. So take the advantage of that. Try to learn the cases, go back, try to read about that case, see what is the treatment, what are the signs that are available that you can see here. Okay, so that are very very important. If you feel like that there is something that you would like to add your notes to, because you feel like adding it, you can add it, but always remember that in the last you should be having a single source. So one thing from this, one thing from this, one thing from this, not possible. And do this adding of the information only when you have much of the time and you have started early, you have started like 1 year back. If you have just 5 to 6 months, as I told you in my last minute revision program strategy also, that then don't do a mistake of adding too many things, because you may add these things but you may not have the time of coming to them. So at that time just the high yield points will be most important. So if you want to see them at more detail, you can refer to that video, because otherwise we will be distracted from next year. Now I would like to say something. See, presently we know that 2017 batch is going to appear for the next. So or afterwards everybody will be there. Now those people who are presently preparing for the NEET 2021, so 2015 batch, 2016 batch, 2017 batch. So 2017 batch, I think 99.99% they will go for the next. Now 2015 and 2016 batch, you have a confusion, right? So 2016 batch, I will say that pull up your socks and put in your maximum effort, so that you are actually able to make it in the NEET only. Otherwise you will have to face a maximum transition from the NEET 21 to next 2022. Then I would like to say that even those of you are in other ones and you are preparing, okay, so you have an edge, you have an advantage that you are preparing early. Now suppose you are in second year, then try to read your subject very very thoroughly. Okay, suppose you are in second year, then don't get worried about the first year subjects. Now if you have read them, well and good. If you have not read them, don't read them now. Okay, first concentrate on your prof subjects, make them 100%, so that when you get extra time then you can cover up your first year subjects. But now if you are reading your second year subjects, first year is already not clear to you and you are wasting the second year also. So in this way your backlog will go on increasing and increasing. So the best way is to tighten up your present, and the future will take care of itself. Now whatever has lost, you can get it when you get the extra time. So what when did you get this extra time? Suppose in the second year you have got 12 months, okay, and you have completed these subjects, second year subjects, by 6 months, 7 months, and then you have time. So meanwhile you can take any one subject, Okay, suppose you are studying the pathology. So what you can do, you have completed the pathology, okay, you have completed your pharma, you have completed the micro, then you can take one of the easy subjects, maybe which one you think that will take less of time from anatomy, physio, biochem, and you can complete it. Similarly, when you come in the third year, you start with your clinical subjects, you start going the wards, ENT, ophtha and PSM, and you have gone through them in about 6 months. Then after that you can revise that. Okay, so this is a good way. Rather you when the patho classes are going on, you are reading the anatomy, when the pharma classes are going on, you are reading the physiology, and now when they have covered this, now neither you are good at anatomy, physiology, neither at the patho pharma, so that is not a very good thing. Okay, then third thing, when you start with your ENT, ophtha and the PSM. Now when you start with your clinical subjects, now this is again a good time of revising your basic sciences. Suppose you have started with the ophthalmology, maybe my subject, and you have started with the practical sessions also. So at least what you can do, you can learn the related anatomy along with that. When we are doing the neuro-ophthalmology, you can go through the neuroanatomy, and in this way you will be able to learn more efficiently. You will be able to know the clinical correlation of that neuroanatomy that you were not able to understand why it was important that time. Now you are able to correlate, because you know, when we learn the squint, when we learn the neuro-ophtha, we go through all the nerves, so you should know their courses, their columns, their origin and insertions, right? And then the visual pathway fibers, then what are their anatomical situations, how the optic chiasm associated with sella turcica. So in this way, some of the topics will be covered, like when we are learning about the superior orbital fissure syndrome, orbital apex, we are learning about the cavernous sinus, what is actually a fistula, how high pressure blood is going to a low pressure blood, so how there will be so many tributaries, and that is why we get the back pressure changes. And in this way you will see that you are able to learn some of the beautiful concepts, and you are able to complete some of your anatomy also, along with a sound learning of the ophthalmology. Same can happen with the ENT and the other subjects. Similarly, when you come to the final year, so in the final year you have a major chunk here. See, you have medicine, you have surgery, you have gynae, and you have got the sharp subjects also. Now what is there, already these subjects are very very long, and those of you will be appearing for the next exam have 1 year less. How? Because earlier you were giving the paper after the internship, so you have that 1 year internship. So you had that 1 year internship extra, but now what is happening? Now you have to appear for the exam, that is next one after your final prof. So that means while you are going through this final year prof, you will have to have the sound knowledge of all the subjects. So I will say the take away messages. The take away messages: start early. Earlier you start, better it is. Second thing, don't do rote learning. Stop learning just for the sake of learning. Make concepts, make good notes. Be inquisitive, ask your doubts, be interactive, try to learn something. Okay, there is a difference between just studying and learning. Try to learn the concepts, try to ask questions related to it, ask yourself why did it happen, check it from the faculties, check it with the books, try to read the standard textbooks, go to the wards, attend your postings. I know it's not possible nowadays, but whenever it becomes possible, and read the clinical handbooks also. The clinical handbooks will also give you the approach of solving the question. Sometimes what approach you are able to develop from those clinical handbooks, you may not be learning even from the 1000 pages of the theory. So those are again very very important. Learn about the procedures that you are seeing, and then also solve more and more MCQs. Use them as more and more learning tools also. Don't expect that you will be able to do 100% questions from any QBank, any platform just after completing that subject, because you know nowadays we have integrated learning, integrated QBanks, integrated questions. So you may not be able to do one question just from the knowledge of that particular subject. That may require 2 to 3 subjects. So what you have to do is just monitor your GT scores, whether they are improving or not. Be strategic, be very, very inquisitive, what is going wrong, and try to work on that weakness areas. And I'm sure that if you work on those weakness areas, your scores will definitely improve. If you are not getting why your scores are not improving and why is, we are there to help you. You can contact us on any social media platform, and I'll definitely help. And you can even approach me on my Telegram group. There are so many students who are interacting, and we are learning daily. And I think you people are improving more and more daily by practice of so many questions. We are there on Facebook pages, also on Instagram, you know, everywhere. It's your choice where you want to seek the help. Okay, we are ready to help you, and I definitely wish all the very best for you. And do your best, do study, try your best, be positive, and don't quit ever. Thank you.